Hello, how the tech are you? This is our weekly tech show on Echoplex Media. We talk about tech news, science news, what other kind of like tech stuff, related stuff we want to talk about. Including making fun of certain billionaires, which I don't think we do this today. But we got some interesting stuff going on. So I'm historian Matt. I do a lot of tech news and science news. Just straight up. And today I got two stories. The first one is robot lawyer is sued by law firm. The law firm is not a robot, but the robot lawyer is being sued. I'll get into more detail on that. And the other one is in the news everywhere. You probably heard about it, but we want to cover it because it's related to tech news. But Silicon Valley Bank collapsed. We're going to talk about what happened there and what's going on. And back for the show again on the pink mic. Who are you, sir?
I am HK Perrin, and I am a software engineer, so I cover mostly software engineering news. And this week, I've got a very interesting story. It actually just came out like literally 3 days ago. Microsoft put up on GitHub something called Visual ChatGPT. So basically, ChatGPT with images. So over to you with the black microphone.
This is a silver microphone. Thank you very much. I'm Dave. I'm the producer of this show. I'm also the producer and broadcaster of all the other shows. We're live here on Twitch, actually, Wednesdays through Sundays. No longer on Tuesdays, which is good for me. Maybe bad for the community. Who knows? And I have two stories. One is about Meta and NFTs, which I had no idea that was still a thing that they were doing, and it turns out that they aren't. And then speaking of microphones, I have a story about an interesting new Rode microphone and a smart way they used parts of the XLR connection to make the USB connection to the microphone a little more sturdy. And back to you, Matt.
All right. So my first story is robot lawyers sued by law firm. So the robot lawyer may have heard of it. It's called Do Not Pay, but is being sued by for practicing law without a license. So it was described as the world's first robot lawyer. It was first created back in 2015 to help people fight parking tickets. I remember when it came out, and there was a lot of news stories about it for people who wanted to let people know about fighting parking tickets with this robot lawyer. But anyways, they're being sued by Chicago-based law firm Edelson. And they have a quote about what they're doing, which is basically talking about Do Not Pay. They say, unfortunately for its customers, Do Not Pay is not actually a robot, a lawyer, nor a law firm. Do Not Pay does not have a law degree. It is not barred in any jurisdiction and is not supervised by any lawyer. It's basically not a lawyer and shouldn't be practicing law, is the summary there. But the lawsuit is on behalf of Jonathan Federated. He was a guy who used the website to draft various legal documents and subsequently wasn't happy. It wasn't real clear like what was the problem, but he does say like he drafted a few legal documents and was unhappy with the result. But Do Not Pay CEO Joshua Browder vows to fight the lawsuits. What do you guys think? Robot lawyers.
I'm a little confused as to who is being sued here, because there has to be an actual entity that you are suing. You can't just sue like a piece of software. So it's the company, right? That's being sued?
Yeah. I didn't make that clear, but it's the company is being sued. The company that owns and runs the software.
Okay. And they're being sued because the company is giving out legal advice that's not coming from someone who has a law degree?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's not coming from somebody and it's not being backed by anybody with a law degree. As far as I can tell, there's nobody at the company that has a law degree.
Yeah, I would think this is a pretty open and shut case. Like, you can't do that. So,
yeah, I don't think.
Yeah. So originally it was just like fighting parking tickets, and it wasn't like, it's kind of a gray area of whether or not it was actually giving out legal advice or legal advice that, rises to the level that you would need to be a lawyer or something, if that makes sense. But definitely now it seems like they've expanded to do a lot of other law related stuff. And yeah, it seems like it's crossed the line by this point.
I think it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, this is pretty funny. Like, I know, like, we have, like the bar association and stuff, and it's so that you don't have to actually buyer beware, like for other things when you deal with like an attorney, because the stakes are much higher versus like I bought the wrong TV or whatever. But this is still pretty funny. I can't imagine that there are a great number of people out there who thought that this was a reasonable substitute for a lawyer. And I have to imagine that there's like language on their website or on like some, somewhere that says, hey, this isn't a lawyer.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure, but that doesn't matter if you're giving out legal advice.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, I understand. I just think this is funny. Like, I agree with everything you just said about like practicing law without a license and how this is probably an open and shut case. This would be much more interesting if there wasn't a business behind it, right? If it was just some random person that put this thing together and kind of gave it out for free. I think this would be a way different scenario. But if they were they charging for this service, Matt?
I believe so.
Oh, yeah, they're fucked.
Yep, I think so too. Yeah, like their whole business model is that they're selling legal advice. Otherwise, why the fuck would they even exist?
Yeah.
This is still pretty funny.
You just want to know about the law, you can just Google it.
Well, the basically what they're claiming is they're doing stuff that are like have a lot of forms and stuff and documents. Some of that stuff doesn't seem like you would need a lawyer just to have like a form that you'd fill out like for some legal thing. But I don't know exactly where the line crosses from actually giving out legal advice or just filling out a form that you turn into some jurisdiction for whatever reason.
Yeah, because like when when you deal with
who would know where that line is?
A lawyer.
A real lawyer.
You would think that they would. You would think that they would hire a lawyer just to tell them about the legalities of what they're doing. That's right.
Yeah, or like a fresh like law grad or something that just been barred or something, so that they can hire for cheap. Okay, see here, we have a lawyer. We're good.
Maybe they just asked their bot, and their bot was like, "Yeah, it's cool."
Yeah. Maybe they asked ChatGPT. So
yeah,
they may try to do this. They may try to say like, well, people can get forms off of LegalZoom that you might otherwise go to a lawyer for, and we're not doing anything different. But if that doesn't matter, because like literally LegalZoom, first of all, LegalZoom has attorneys on staff, like, and they charge you actually extra to speak to one of them if you need more advanced advice than here's the forms you need to fill out, for example, for like an LLC or whatever. And, but I would be willing to bet that the forms on LegalZoom, the ones that aren't just kind of bog standard, like government forms that they give you access to and maybe explain what some of the fields mean. If they were like forms that were drawn up by LegalZoom, I bet it was a lawyer that drew up the form, or there were people working under the advisement of a lawyer, or somebody cleared it. So, yeah, I think HK is right. I think that these people should just shut it down. Just shut it down. Just be like, what robot lawyer?
Or make it open source.
Oh, do that too. But then be like, what robot lawyer?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's illegal too. A lawyer would probably advise them not to do something like that either.
Probably.
That's a funny story, Matt. Good job. I guess right. Maybe other people don't think it's as funny as I do, but I think it's a pretty hilarious story.
I think it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I saw that one. I had to jump on it. It's a little different source from usual, but the whole article is there. Will be in our notes. Check it out. So I'll go on to my next story, which is what everybody's probably heard about by now, but Silicon Valley Bank collapsed. I was shuttered by U.S. regulators on Friday. Rumors of the bank failure caused huge deposit outflows. Efforts to raise more capital failed. And this is now the second largest bank failure in the US after Washington Mutual collapse in 2008, back when all the banks were failing. The bank was widely used by Silicon Valley startups, and people were concerned that the bank's failure could cause the startup market to collapse because, everybody all these startups had their money in Silicon Valley Bank, and the deposits were only insured up to $250,000. We'll talk about that in a minute, but yeah, it looks like the Fed will bail out the depositors beyond the $250,000, so everybody will be whole again, but not bail out the bank itself. So some of this stuff is still, as I have in my notes, this is an ongoing event, possibly with more banks closing in the future. There's already some other banks that are having trouble. Things will probably change by the time this video is released, and we hope to get these videos out earlier. But what do you guys think? Big bank collapse again. Yeah, where'd my mouth?
I mean, I'm in my mid-30s, and this is just the next giant global catastrophe. It is just the beginning of it, right? This has been my life, just one giant global catastrophe after another.
Yeah.
So
banks failing over and over again.
I'm really glad this dropped on a Friday because every ghoul in Silicon Valley was freaking out on Twitter all weekend. I was like, oh, I know. I could tell instantly who had really good friends or something who had a bunch of money in there. I could tell who didn't because they were because the VC types and all that, they do like to snipe at each other a little bit. That's a little bit like that movie Mean Girls, but with like billions of dollars. I'm glad that the people who are doing payroll through there are going to be made whole, and that people aren't going to it doesn't look like people are going to miss their paychecks, which is good. But I got to tell you, I'm just glad it dropped on a Friday and not on a Monday, because it just gave people, especially that David Sachs guy. I don't know if you know who that is. He's like a big VC, and he was just posting through it all weekend. I mean, just posted through it, just straight up stream of consciousness from this guy. There was some, I was reading that Founders Fund, our good friend, a frequent flyer, funny enough, on the Intellectual Dollar Tree, Peter Thiel, they took a bunch of money out of the bank last week, and were telling other people to do it, and that kind of had a cascading effect. And then there was just a run on the bank, and I don't think it was Peter Thiel's fault or whatever, but I would like to find out that it is. I'd like to later find out that he did this, because that's illegal.
Yeah, there's a slim possibility, because I definitely heard that Peter Thiel was telling everybody to take their money out of this bank, and that's what caused it basically to collapse. It was a good old-fashioned bank run. But I don't know if he did that maliciously, like he was trying to get the bank to fail, or if he really was just letting people know, hey, this bank's having some problems. You should probably get your money back, especially if you have more than $250,000 in it, because it's not going to be insured.
Yeah. Like I could tell Mark Andreessen didn't have any money in there because he wasn't freaking out all weekend long. Either that, or maybe he just decided not to freak out. But it was just, I follow enough people in tech that Twitter will feed me posts from VCs who I don't follow, probably because they're all Elon's friends, and Elon likes to make sure that his friends get some exposure here. Of course, he had to come up during this. So yeah, I got an interesting view, and watching just supposedly the smartest people in the room, the smartest people in Silicon Valley, just freaking out. It was amazing. I can't. No notes. Perfect. No notes. Do you know if any of the companies either of you worked for ever banked with? I know you weren't in the finance department, but people talk. Do you know if any of the companies you worked for were banking with Silicon Valley?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've only worked for one startup, and I don't know anything about their finances.
Yeah, when we were we're we're actually at First Republic right now for our business. So I'm starting to think about, that might be one of the next dominoes. So I may have to do the unfortunate thing of just putting the money for my what's left of the business for my day job into like a normal bank like Chase or something, because that's the only thing that's possible like fallout that I see is that that players in business of all kinds are going to take their money out of like regional banks and put them in big banks like, you know, Chase, Bank of America, Bank of the West, which is now owned by some banking conglomerate, and it'll you know, there'll be like collapse in like sort of medium-sized regional banks, and through no fault of their own, actually, because it's not like, you know, and I think most people know this, if the bank doesn't actually have all the money that's been deposited in the bank, the purpose of a bank is that you deposit it, and you deposit money, and that the bank lends your money to somebody else, like in the form of a loan. So that's why a run on the bank is bad, because the bank doesn't have all the money. And imagine if they had to have all the money, the system would just grind to a halt. It wouldn't work. If the bank had to have every dollar that was ever deposited, first of all, the banks wouldn't be able to make any money, because how would they make any money? They'd just start charging you exorbitant fees on your deposits. So
yeah, rather than giving you interest.
Right. If you have that kind of account, like regular checking accounts don't tend to get interest, but yeah, like savings accounts get a little bit of interest and stuff. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that small banks and, you know, regional credit unions, like, because when we had a lot more going on with my business, we also had a bank at TechCU, and that was like one of the best places I've ever banked. They were just amazing, and they're a medium-sized regional bank, and a lot of Silicon Valley companies have their money there as well. It's the old Lockheed Credit Union. They just opened it up to everyone else. So I hope that doesn't happen, because there's, you know, I don't really care that much. You know, I'm not shedding a tear for bankers or whatever, but like medium-sized banks, they like employ people in the community. They offer competition. They maybe if you're not a big fan of these big banks, it offers you an opportunity to maybe feel a little bit better about where you're putting your money, because it's like more local, more regional. That's why I chose Bank of the West at first, because it was it was a big regional bank for like California, Arizona, Nevada, and all that. But you know, I think that a lot of these smaller banks are probably going to get bought up by bigger banks where they might not have been inclined to do it in the first place, just for like the liquidity and the financial stability of it. But then it's going to take some of the good things about like smaller regional banks away, basically. And I don't know. I'm glad that one crypto bank went out of business. Screw them. Like that bank that was heavily into crypto. Like, why would you deposit $1 into a bank that is like, oh, we're heavily into crypto? You're like, oh, give me that $1 back. No, not on a key, not on the dollar, the cash, that dollar. I want that $1 back. You're doing what with my money?
I don't know if it was a regular retail bank though, so I don't know if you could deposit your stuff, your money in it. It could have been just like an investment bank.
Yeah, but
here's the thing though: we're gonna take your dollar and we're gonna buy gold, but we don't actually get the gold. Someone else keeps the gold, but we have $1 worth of gold somewhere.
Oh,
in someone's garage,
to $1 worth of gold.
Oh, we talk about that on Wednesday a lot too. All those gold ads. Where you buy gold, and then what they don't do is send you any gold.
Yeah, they run on like conservative media outlets.
Yeah, you're just buying the idea of gold.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're a little bit off topic. I hope, like, you know, the small and medium-sized businesses, you know, I imagine the people that run those were freaking out over the weekend, but they weren't publicly freaking out on Twitter. They were probably trying to figure out what their next step was, because they aren't rich piss baby billionaires who are like, wah, all over Twitter, but mostly for attention, I think. So I hope those, you know,
it is good to hear that the government is helping them,
right,
but not the bank.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear something funny?
Sure.
About this thing? When this first happened, one of the creators that I follow on YouTube posted a video. I didn't actually watch the video, but it was like just the headline was something about Elon Musk was going to buy Silicon Valley Bank, and I almost fell over laughing. Well, they're screwed,
right? As if there aren't enough problems.
Yeah. That's the only place I heard of that. So I don't know if he was just making something up or what. But
I bet Elon Musk said he would buy Silicon Valley Bank.
He probably tweeted it.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great way. Like he buys it, and then there's just a whole nother run on the bank.
Yeah, probably would be.
Everybody's like, "Up, nope, out, goodbye."
Yep.
All right, HK. It seems like it's time for your story.
All right. So, just a few days ago, Microsoft put up on GitHub something called Visual Chat GPT. If you're unfamiliar with ChatGPT, which I don't know how you're unfamiliar at this point, ChatGPT is a general conversational AI. So you can ask it questions. You can ask it to write you essays or poems or lyrics, or you can ask it all sorts of things. But ChatGPT has always been just text. So this new this new thing, Visual Chat GPT, this is now a way to add images into ChatGPT. So one of their demos here is asking ChatGPT for a picture of a cat, and then asking it to replace the cat with the dog and remove the book that was in the image, giving it a picture of a motorcycle, asking what color it is, asking it to remove the motorcycle, and ChatGPT is able to do all these things with that image. So it's kind of similar to something along the lines of like Stable Diffusion, but whereas Stable Diffusion has no memory of the previous things you've asked it to make, ChatGPT will retain that sort of memory of the conversation that's going on, the consistency of the conversation, which is really cool. You can ask it to describe images, and then you could ask something based on what it tells you. You can ask it to create images. So it's pretty remarkable to see this this new capability coming to ChatGPT. I don't think they included any actual code. It was just the paper that they put up on GitHub. But you can go and read their paper. You can see the demos, and they included a diagram of the system architecture, which is way beyond my understanding. But yeah, that's a really cool new feature. What do you guys think?
So it reminds me of, do you remember that there's this guy, I think it's a guy who people would ask him to like do funny things, take this out of this image, and instead of what they wanted, he would like take what they were saying completely literally, right?
Yeah.
And it sort of reminds me of that.
God, it was great.
I forget the guy's name. He's like kind of internet famous for, could you Photoshop, sometimes some of the stuff he did was kind of inappropriate and rude, but it was like people knew what they were going. It's like when you tweet at Wendy's, you know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So it just kind of reminds me
of that guy. I would love to see ChatGPT have a very literal sense of humor like that.
I think
literal ChatGPT image.
I think
visual.
I think it's pretty cool. I think it, for people just kind of trying to make memes and like, or I really like the background here, but why I don't care about this car, and I like the image, where this is. I think it's like really cool. I don't know how useful it is, but that sure looked fun to play with. My God.
Yeah. We've got that new Google AI that's creating music now, and ChatGPT can write lyrics, and now ChatGPT will even be able to create like some cover art. You could just have AI create an entire album for you. I'm sure it would be terrible, but you could have it do it.
But you couldn't copyright it.
No, you could not.
Well, I mean, if it was incredibly terrible, would you really want to have your name attached to it anyway?
Probably not.
Tim Pool has his name attached to all his stuff.
Oh, man.
Did you know he makes music?
Yes, I do.
I didn't know that.
It's pretty bad.
We have a show on Sunday. Every time he has a new song come out and starts bragging about it, we play a few seconds of it in hopes of getting a copyright takedown from Tim Pool, because that would be one of them good problems. I do like the idea of being able to like use this, like you said, to like generate an album, like use all these different things to like generate, basically generate a CD. Essentially, that'd be very funny.
Yeah,
that'd be very funny. Maybe we can do it. Maybe we can do that.
Yeah,
with like lyrics and everything.
We could even make a could we make we could find some there's got to be some AI that'll even sing it for us like out of tune. It'll be great. Be fine. We just run it through auto tune.
Microsoft has that one we covered just a little while ago. I don't know. I don't think I heard it sing at all, but it did speak. So you could feed it in some like we were saying, some famous singer like Taylor Swift or something, and then have it use her voice to sing a song.
Oh, that's probably a problem. But yeah. Just I would be like, please sing this in a gospel style.
You could say it's Taylor Swift, but Taylor is spelled lowercase t, capital AI, lowercase LOR.
Well, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. You don't want to go to war with Taylor Swift fans on the internet, dude.
No, you do not.
You do not want to go to war with Taylor Swift. I do that is like, listen, I'm here for the rope-a-dope on the internet, but not with Taylor Swift fans and not with K-pop kids.
That's right.
So that was a very cool story. I liked the demo that was up there. You can check the show notes for that, or if you're watching the video, you kind of saw the demo. So I suppose it's my turn now. I just have two stories. One of which is stupid. Well, I mean, most of the time when I do stories, they're stupid. I look for kind of dumb tech stuff, but this one is especially stupid. I had no idea that Meta was in the NFT game, and apparently they're moving on from all of their crypto projects, and they were pitched as part of Metaverse's future. I read this article and I kind of still don't understand what they were kind of planning to do. I guess you could mint. They were trying to set up a way to mint NFTs on Facebook and Instagram, and they decided that they're actually not going to do that. Matt, you're more into like crypto, and you like know more about this scene than I do. Do you know more about like what Meta was planning to do here?
I don't know about on Facebook and Instagram, but when their metaverse thing, they were trying to make like NFTs that weren't really NFTs. I don't know, but it was basically like stuff that you could dress up your avatar in, like that sort of BS, that were NFTs you could trade or something. And it was really obviously just a play for money, right?
Like a cash grab. So it was like shoes or something.
Yeah. It was really bad. And like, I saw some like commercial on it and I was just like, why would you even want to do this? This makes no sense. But I'm wondering if that was related and they gave up on it just because like nobody's using it or something. I don't know. Apparently they spent $1 billion on their metaverse and nobody uses it. And it looks like a bad video game.
I could totally imagine them, coming out with like loot boxes filled with NFTs of just like procedurally generated fucking garbage.
Yeah, probably. Well, I mean, so many of the NFTs were procedurally generated anyways. Yeah.
So they literally were just garbage.
Yeah. Like, well, what they do is they'd have like an artist, like for like, what was it? The Bored Monkeys one or Bored Apes, right? Like they would have an artist like make the eyes, like different variations of the eyes and the mouth and the overall head or something. I don't remember exactly how it was, but it had to fit into certain dimensions. And then from there, the computer would just randomly mix them together and make an NFT.
Like a Mr. Potato Head? Or I'm sorry, like a potato head?
From what I can tell was going on for a lot of those.
I was literally about to say the same thing. Just like a Mr. Potato Head.
And then people were paying tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of $1,000s for them.
Oh my God, this is so ridiculous. This is what is this world we're living in?
Well, whatever.
Exactly.
You know what's amazing is that more and more Mark Zuckerberg is just starting to seem like the reasonable person in all this. And I don't think it's because he has become reasonable. I think that everyone else has just gone like further down the unreasonable path. And Mark Zuckerberg's fucking Android ass has just stayed exactly where he is.
You know, I didn't put it in my news clips, but do you mind if I talk for 1 second about something really important that Mark Zuckerberg is doing right now?
Go ahead.
Facebook has released a press release basically saying they are working on a federated social network platform, which sounds like, it doesn't exactly mean, but it sounds like they're going to make a platform that works with ActivityPub to be interoperable with Mastodon, which to me is extremely concerning because Facebook, just like Microsoft, uses a policy or a philosophy, I guess, called a strategy called embrace, extend, extinguish, where they take an open technology, something like, for example, XMPP used to be, Messenger, Facebook Messenger embraced XMPP. You could talk with an XMPP client to a Facebook Messenger user on Facebook, as long as you add an XMPP server and that server can conform to the protocol. And then Facebook extended that. They started introducing new features that XMPP didn't support. So you had to be on Facebook to get those features. If you weren't on Facebook, you could still do regular XMPP stuff, but there were things outside of that that you had to be on Facebook. And Facebook sucked a lot of the users out of other XMPP providers. And then eventually Facebook, I guess, extinguished it. They just cut off their XMPP support. They were just like, we no longer support XMPP. You cannot chat with anyone with anything other than Facebook Messenger, our official client. So, Facebook has been known to do embrace, extend, extinguish. So if Facebook says they're getting into the Fediverse, that scares me. That is extremely concerning.
My other concern with that is I actually enjoy being on Mastodon, and I don't want to see a bunch of people's unhinged Facebook posts on Mastodon. That's like the other thing.
Yeah,
that too, please. If they do that, please, every Mastodon instance maintainer just immediately feta block Facebook's instance.
Right. Sorry, Grandpa. We don't want to read your cooked posts. So my next story is actually something pretty cool. Rode has solved a problem. There's a problem that with USB-C. Well, they haven't solved it. They've worked on it. There's a problem with USB-C. I first saw it coming up in the context of DJ controllers. Whereas if you remember the USB-A connector, like you would use for an old printer, if you remember, that was like pretty robust and kind of hard to remove, right? Whereas the USB-B, I'm sorry. It was pretty robust, right? It wasn't hard to remove, but it wasn't coming undone like your phone connector would come undone. And there was this piece of DJ equipment that everybody kind of liked. The price was right, but then people started noticing that the cable would just come out. And that was, it's fine, I guess, if you're just spinning some tunes in your, in your living room or whatever, you just reconnect it and kind of get back to what you were doing. But, the controller was small, powerful, worked with Serato, worked with Rekordbox. It was great for if you had to go play a gig and you didn't know if they had, good gear or whatever, or you wanted to bring your own, except that the cable fell out. And so as more and more of the USB mics move to USB-C connectors, people are noticing the same thing, that the cable will get, if the cable gets moved, sometimes the mic will get disconnected. Sometimes the cable would just come out because it was being wiggled and wobbled or whatever. And it seems like Rode has, I don't know if they did this on purpose, and the article here doesn't seem to know either, but if you look at this image here, and let me zoom in on it a little bit for the viewers. If you see the USB cable goes in where the XLR cable would go in on this mic, and it's kind of stuck between the housing and two of the pins on the XLR connector. So it offers like a good deal more stability for the connection of the USB-C to the microphone. It also takes up less space. And this is you can still you pull it out if you pull it out, but it's not going to wobble and wiggle in the USB connector. And if anybody's ever used like a Blue Yeti, you've had this problem with the USB and I think that's a micro USB, but the micro USB suffers basically from the same problem where it's kind of easy to remove. This isn't entirely solving the problem here, and it does create an issue where you can't have both XLR and USB at the same time. I know a lot of professionals like to do that. By professionals, I mean people who aren't me. They like to do that so that they have like a backup of their mics recording. They'll run the XLR through their mixer or whatever, and then maybe just on a completely separate computer, they'll have the USB from their mic so that they have a second capture of their own audio. And, if you have a remote guest or whatever, and you're recording on your end and they're recording on their end, but then both of you are also recording a second version of it, you're not losing your recording. And so this doesn't let you do that until someone makes a weird cable, which they have a funny drawing of at the bottom of this article here. Let me show you this. Obviously, diagram drawing is the passion of someone over here at The Verge. And but we also don't know if the mic works with both at the same time. And so I think this will be the first time when we've really kind of covered any podcasting or streaming hardware. What do you guys think of that?
I think that drawing looks like a medical device.
I think it's an interesting idea. Not sure how robust those pins are. And if you're like squeezing in a USB-C cable, are you going to bend those pins? Or are they going to work themselves loose or something like that? I mean, they seem pretty stable though, like pretty robust.
The XLR pins are pretty stable. They're like the size of like the RCA pins.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
yeah.
And
those were pretty tough to bend.
And you're not having to like cram the cable in there. It's just that it's not going to wiggle. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not that it's not that it's hard to push in because of the resistance from the side of the XLR port and the pins. Right. Because that would be very poor design. First of all, it would just be difficult to plug the microphone in. But then secondly, you're going to damage either the USB-C cable or the XLR pins, the XLR port on the microphone. There's room. It's just that there's not much. And so the main problem with USB-C is that it tends to wiggle loose on these kinds on professional audio devices. I'm still not interested in using USB. I have very nice preamps here. Thank you very much. And I will continue to use XLR. But Rode makes pretty good microphones. And so I think that I think this one's going to become popular. And I think that I think maybe somebody's going to copy that design. And I think that it might also drive some of these companies making audio equipment to find ways to make the USB-C connection to their device like more robust, because
hot glue.
Yeah, that's, like back in the day, Technics turntables, there was no RCA connection on it, right? You had RCA cables coming off of it, but there wasn't ports in the back for it. The cable was like soldered to the inside of the turntable, so that at least on that end, your cables were never coming loose. That would be a bad idea for your USB cable, because USB cables are not, it's not like an audio cable, it's a data cable. So if it just starts to slightly degrade, you're going to lose your connection. Whereas an audio cable, you can bend it and all kinds of stuff you can do with an audio cable, and you're not going to lose your connection. But I just thought that was kind of a cool device. And I don't know if they had chosen that location for it in order to make it more stable, or if that's just a byproduct of where they put it. But and as we go forward, I think I'm going to try to do more, maybe cover more podcasting gear and more microphones and stuff. So if anybody out there wants to send me free stuff to review on the show, I'd be into that.
Point out one more thing that kind of popped into mind, which I'm sure you've run into before, But I think this will work for a lot of regular USB cables. But there's somebody making USB cables that or the plugs specifically that are like way too big to fit in there. Because for whatever reason, they want to make this giant extra plug bit.
My mouse has a port on the front, and the only cable that will fit into it is specifically the cable that came with the mouse, and I lost that cable.
No.
So at that point, what the fuck is the point of USB even?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's supposed to be universal. But
so I think most cables will probably fit, because I think most of the USB-C cables, like most people do it normally and make them kind of thin, so the housing around it, is not too thick, but somebody is making them too big. And I'm sure that's going to screw stuff up and people are going to complain.
Yeah.
It's cause problems.
I think this is probably a happy accident that it made it so that it's less wiggly, because it looks like they did it for the sake of room, but
yeah,
it's good. But this USB-C, I don't think that pro audio gear should have that connector to your computer. I just don't think it should. I think that the USB-B connector to a 3.1 or a 3.2 is just going to be so much more robust, because it like clicks into place. Like I've used my DJ controller in some pretty unpredictable environments, and I've never had a problem with the USB connection. And I could imagine that there would have been times where if I had USB-C connecting my controller to my laptop or whatever, it would have definitely come undone. Bike party, for example, that is a very harsh environment to DJ in. But yeah, this is cool. I'm not a big fan of Rode makes good products. I'm not a user of their products. I've been working with audio for a very long time, and I either buy fairly expensive Shure microphones, or I just buy the cheapest thing I can find that is some sort of facsimile of an SM58. But this is good. We'll see when the reviews start coming out. It could be, maybe the reviews are bad. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a pain in the ass to get the connector in. Who knows? But anyway, product reviews. Send me this microphone, Rode. I will test it. Unfortunately, probably only with the XLR. And then I guess I'll have to send it back. But nobody's sending me any free stuff because we don't have enough viewers. I guess that's the show. HK, since you weren't here recently, you want to read us out?
Yeah. So we do the show every week, and we sometimes even put it out that week. This is our weekly tech show. If you want to check out our other shows, check out echoplexmedia.com. If you want to see us live, we stream on Twitch many nights a week. So that's twitch.tv/echoplexmedia. And if you want to donate to us some of your cold hard cash monies, you can do that at patreon.com/echoplex. Have a great Tekken week.